So I'm excited to be cooking with you guys 2 of Amanda's recipes today. We're making 2 recipes from her new cookbook, Homemade Simple. So we're making Chipotle-Lime wings, and then we're also going to make some everything bagel popcorn and chat about lots of different variations for how to make homemade popcorn. So 2 awesome snacks. Would be really fun to make this Sunday, and I'm excited to be cooking them with you all. So let's go ahead and jump right into it then. And let me know in the chat too if anybody's cooking along with me today, or as well too if anybody can't hear me or anything like that, definitely jump in. And same with questions, jump in the chat whenever you have any thoughts. So first, I wanted to get started on these wings and get these going in the oven because they do take a little bit to bake off. So I'm gonna move my camera a little bit here. Alrighty. So this is, I'm doing a slightly smaller batch today because it's just my husband and I eating them for dinner. So this is 2 pounds of wings. Wings can come, sometimes they're already separated with the little drums and the flats. A lot of times when you get them from your butcher, they're already separated for you. These ones I got today, they were actually from Trader Joe's and they were connected. So I just cut down the seam to separate the wings and the flats and then the wing tips. So you can discard the wing tips, or what I did is I saved them. You can freeze them and use them for stock later if you'd like. So to get these crispy, we're going to coat these in just a little bit of salt and some cornstarch. That's all I have in here is just salt and cornstarch. And we're just going to coat them real quick. Dump that in there. The salt, of course, is for seasoning, and the cornstarch is actually going to help make the wings get really crispy. And that's all we're going to be baking these in the start. So we're just baking them with salt and cornstarch, and then all of the flavor and juicy sauce is all going to come in at the end, and that's when we're going to do that Chipotle-Lime Marinade. Okay, these are looking pretty good. Now I patted the wings dry as well before adding the cornstarch and before adding the salt, just to kind of get any of that excess moisture off. That's going to help crisp the wings up as well. So let's put them on the baking sheet here. This is a baking sheet. I have a baking rack and then a little bit of foil underneath, just for an easy cleanup. You don't have to use the foil if you don't want. And then I just sprayed this baking rack with a little bit of cooking spray too. These shouldn't get too sticky, but just in case, I would hate for it to rip off any of the crispy skin. So we're just gonna lay these out here. You don't want them to be too close, otherwise they'll steam rather than getting crispy. So we're just gonna space these out here. And now I already have my oven preheated. I preheated it to 425. I got a little more cornstarch at the bottom. I'm gonna really try to coat these. Okay. So it was about 2 tablespoons of cornstarch for 3 pounds of wings. I'm doing a little bit less, but same idea. This is gonna fit perfectly on this baking rack, I think. Perfect. Alrighty. One more. And that's it. So easy. We're just going to bake them off, get them nice and crispy. While those are baking, we'll work on the marinade. So these are going in the oven 425, which is a pretty high heat. I have the rack set in kind of the middle section of the oven. So if they were too high, you worry about them burning or getting too brown before they were fully cooked on the inside, and too low, you worry about them not getting crispy enough. So right in the middle there is the perfect sweet spot. So those went in. Okay, it's 5:07, so we'll check back in a little bit, maybe closer to 5:30. We'll see how they're doing then. But for now, let's switch over to the Chipotle-Lime Marinade. So I've got all my ingredients here. I'm going to pull them up a little bit closer. I'm going to wash my hands. I didn't touch the chicken, but I came in close contact. So let's just Play it safe. Okay. Now we're gonna make the Chipotle-Lime Marinade. This marinade would be really yummy with steak or chicken. Um, I would totally recommend, we're only gonna use, this is gonna make 1 cup. We're only gonna need about half a cup of the marinade for the wings. So you're gonna have some extra. Honestly, you could even double this marinade to have on hand to marinate some steak and some chicken. It would be so fun on game day too. I would use some of this marinade. Flank steak or skirt steak would be really good with it. Marinate it for a couple hours before, maybe like 6 hours. So maybe in the morning, on Sunday morning, throw some meat in with the marinade. You could reserve a little bit on the side before you put the meat in if you'd like to drizzle some extra on top. And let that meat marinate for a couple hours and then grill it up. Slice the skirt steak or whatever, you would be really good on tacos. You could do a tostada or a taco salad would be really yummy. Chicken again would be really good. You could just serve it as is. It doesn't even need to be in a taco. Serve that with some grilled veggies, and that would be a really yummy dinner as well. Oh my gosh, you could put it on nachos too. Oh, it'd be so good. Okay, back to my cutting board here. I'm gonna actually stabilize my cutting board a little bit. I'm sure Amanda has taught you all this trick before, but if you take a paper towel and wet it, and just squeeze out some of that extra water. And then if you fold it in half here, pop it under your cutting board. You can do a normal dish towel too if you don't have paper towels. And then it stays so much more sturdy. So that's a great safety tip too as well. We don't want our cutting board to be wiggling around when we have our knife. Okay, so we're gonna make this dressing. I've got my blender here, this marinade. I've got my blender here. You could also use a food processor. You could also chop this all up by hand and just whisk it together in a bowl. It would probably be a little bit kind of chunkier of a marinade, but that's totally fine. So we're starting off with some lime juice here. I'm gonna go ahead and just cut a couple limes. I'm using this trick Amanda taught me where the center of the lime is pretty fibrous. And so if you, a lot of times it's easy to want to just cut the lime down the middle this way and squeeze it. And that, you're going to have that tough fibrous part be a part of that. And you're going to get a lot less juice from doing that. So instead, if you just slice around it like this, and then we always want to try to get anything we cut onto a flat surface as soon as possible for knife safety. Then pop it on its flat side there and just keep cutting around. And you can still squeeze that center part. You're still going to get some juice out of it, but it's a little bit separate. Now the recipe calls for half a cup of lime juice. Now you could of course measure that out. A little trick though is that each lime is about 2 tablespoons of juice. And so half a cup would be 8 tablespoons. And so I know that I'm going to need about 4 limes. So I feel comfortable not measuring. You can if you'd like, but I'm just going to squeeze all 4 limes straight into here. Bring this up a little bit so you can see my blender a little bit more. There we go. I don't know if you can see, but I'm getting lots. Woo! Try not to squeeze it in my eyes. Getting lots of juice out of these. In January, in case you didn't know, in February and December, this is all a great time for citrus. It's citrus season. So any recipe you can do right now, which is funny. For some reason, I always think of citrus like lemon. I always think of it being super summery. But the peak lemon time is actually closer to December. It's really great in the winter. Okay, we got lots of limes going on in here. Getting lots of juice. Because this marinade does have acid in it, I wouldn't marinate steaks or meats in it for too long. You don't want to do like a 2-day marinade or anything like that. I think kind of 6 to 8 hours would be perfect for something like this. Sometimes the acid can just interact with proteins in a way where it can make it tough. So, but the great part about this marinade is that you can prep it in advance. So you can make this marinade up to 5 days in advance. So I was just doing the math before this class, and I was like, okay, I'm going to have half a cup of marinade. I'm like, I think it'll last. It's Thursday till Tuesday. I was like, thinking maybe Monday night for dinner, I might be marinating some chicken in this. Lots of lime juice. Here we go. Alrighty. Last one. Okay, set these aside. You need lime zest for anything, you could certainly have enough limes for that. Okay, perfect. We've got our lime juice in there. What's listed next is our chipotles. I'm gonna add the chipotles in last because they're gonna kind of stain my cutting board and get everything a little bit messy. So I'm gonna move on instead next to our red onion. So I've got one red onion here, a pretty big red onion. We only need a 1/4 cup, so we're not even gonna need, I feel like half an onion gets you about 1 cup diced. So we're only gonna need a little bit. That's totally fine. I cook with onions all the time, so we will save the rest of it. But I just cut it in half that way. We're gonna trim off the ends here. I am embarrassingly sensitive to onions. I feel like I am always crying. So let's see if I can do this without crying. There are a few tricks if you're like me, if you're sensitive to crying with onions. A few tricks that I've found that work pretty well. Number one is they always say a sharp knife is what is going to keep you from crying. We always try to keep a sharp knife. Number two as well, sometimes, I mean, if you're making French onion soup or something and you're chopping 10 onions, no matter how sharp of a knife, I'm going to be crying. But if you boil some water, the steam next to you, so if I wanted to cut over by the stove and have some water simmering, the steam will help absorb some of those I don't know, molecules, if that's the right word, that make you cry. And that helps too. So I just sliced it this way. We're going to slice downwards. It doesn't need to be perfect because we are popping this into the blender. So even if it's just a somewhat rough dice, that's totally fine. Do a little bit more. Okay, I'd say that that's good. Save that onion for later. Probably even a little bit more than a 1/4 cup, but we'll pop that in there. Okay. Next, we're going to add in some fresh herbs. So we're using mint and cilantro today. I went ahead and just picked them for us. So this is equal parts mint and cilantro, about 2 tablespoons of each. The cilantro, anytime you're cooking with cilantro, you can totally use the stems. So I still have some like long bits of stem in here, and that's totally fine. You don't need to just use the leaves. Parsley's the herb where you want to really just use the leaves. The stems aren't quite as delicious, but cilantro, you can totally keep the stems on. Okay. And then we're going to do some garlic. So 3 cloves. One of my cloves broke in half. It looks like I have 4. But. And then we're just going to kind of crush them a little bit. Just use the back of your knife. Just kind of get them going a little bit. Okay. Pop the garlic in there. And we're going to do some dried herbs and spices as well. So I have some dried oregano. And we're just going to do a teaspoon of this. Let's see if my teaspoon fits perfectly. I love it when that happens. A little bit of that, pop that in there. And then we're going to do a little bit of cumin as well. Same deal, 1 teaspoon. And then we're going to do a little bit of salt as well. 1 teaspoon, same thing. Okay. Perfect. And then we're going to add a little bit of honey. This is for a little bit of sweetness. If you didn't want it to be sweet at all, you could leave it out, but it is so good in this. We're going to do 2 tablespoons. So it's a good amount of honey. You could also use agave if you'd like, but honey and agave are great natural sweeteners to use. So no, the only sugar that we're adding in here, or sweetness that we're adding in here, I should say, sweetener is honey or agave. 2 tablespoons. Okay. All right, I think the time has come. We are going to dirty the cutting board here with our chilies. So I'm using canned. These are Chipotle peppers in adobo sauce. If you've never used them before, they come in a little jar like this. And we're going to just need about 3 tablespoons. So I'm going to actually grab a little spoon to pull these out because I don't want to dip my fingers into here. Okay. And it's okay if some of the sauce is coming out with it. We want some sauce, some peppers. Okay. I got some sauce, some peppers. I'm going to pour a little bit of sauce in there. And then I'm just going to give this a rough chop. I think that maybe one more. That should be plenty for us. Okay. Just going to give it kind of a rough run through a few times. Okay. I've got my bench scraper. I'm going to scoop that into the blender. I've probably mentioned in other classes, but if you haven't heard me talk about a bench scraper yet, it is one of my very favorite kitchen tools. All right, I'm going to get my hands a little dirty. It's like once you start using it, it turns into like your third hand. I just have a plastic one that I'm using, but you can also use the metal ones are great as well. I'm thinking I need to get one of those soon. But they're a great thing to have when you're chopping herbs too. I know anytime I chop herbs, they're like all over the cutting board and you're trying to pick it up with your fingers. It also stops you from using your knife to pick things up. Every time you scrape your knife against a cutting board, you're dulling it. And so try not to do that. You dull it, you also, are doing damage on the cutting board too. So we don't want to do that. Okay. So I've got everything here in the blender. Let me just check everything off. Yep, got it all. So I'm going to pulse this a few times, kind of break everything up, and then we're going to add in some oil as well. So let me grab the lid. I can hear the sizzling of the wings. I'm so excited. Let me take a quick peek. Oh my gosh, they're getting so crispy already. It's only been 15 minutes or so. We'll check on them again in a little bit. All right, I'm going to turn this on and just pulse it a little bit. Do a little bit more. We want to get that garlic broken up. With a spatula, I'm just going to wipe down the sides of the bowl. Make sure we get all that in there. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. As soon as you open that, you can smell those chilies, the garlic, the fresh herbs. It smells so good. Okay. Everything's pretty broken up in here. It looks right now kind of like a thick salsa right now. We're going to add some oil. So we're doing half a cup of avocado oil. This is a nice, neutral, mild oil. It's also great because it has a low heat point. So it's great to, or maybe high. You can cook it with high heat is what I'm trying to say. and it's not going to burn. If you were to use an olive oil and put it on the steak and then grill it up, it would fire up a little bit more when it was on the grill, and you run the risk of burning a little bit easier. So olive oil or avocado oil is great for this. It also is pretty neutral in flavor as well. So, if you're using like an extra virgin olive oil, you would really taste that. Or if you're using coconut oil, you would taste that. So that's why it's a good one. And I don't cook with canola oil anymore, so avocado oil is a great one for that. Okay, let's pulse this again. We're going to get it nice and blended. The color has changed, gotten a lot lighter from the oil. I'm going to scrape it down one more time because I still got some bits in here. I'm going to run it one final time, then taste it and see if it needs any more salt or anything like that. There we go. Any questions in the comments? Anyone doing anything fun for the Super Bowl? My parents are hosting a party. I come from a big sports family. We're not big on playing the sports, we're big on watching the sports. So we already have a huge list made of all the snacks we're having because that's the priority, of course. All right, I'm going to taste it. Delicious. So good. I'm going to add a pinch more of salt, I think. So good. Oh, I can't wait for this. Okay. Let me just incorporate that salt real quick, and then we're done with our marinade. Okay. One final time. Use the other side of my spoon. Perfect. So delicious. Okay. We are done with the blender. I successfully did not have everything splatter all over my face on camera, so that's a win. Okay. I'm just going to use this same container that I poured my avocado oil into. Makes about 1 cup. Perfect. Make sure no sauce is lost in the process here. Okay. Yum. There we have it. Quickly rinse my blender. I don't want it to get all stained from the Chipotles. Go. All right, here is our marinade / wing sauce. So there you have it. We're going to keep it to the side for now. I'll just pop it back here for now. We're going to use about half of that or a little less to coat our wings when they come out of the oven. And then the other half, again, save for marinating your meats later. Alrighty. And yeah, again, it'll save for 5 days. So make that whole batch, even if you're not using all of it for the wings. Alrighty. I'm gonna tidy up just a little bit here, and then let's check on the wings, and then we're gonna check on getting that popcorn going too. We have a question on the top 3 Super Bowl appetizers. I gotta go wings. We're definitely doing some wings. We're making some jalapeno poppers on Sunday that I'm excited about. And I think gotta go like a classic dip. Like I love guacamole. Just do some like classic guac and chips. So good. Those are my favorites. But you also can't go wrong with like nachos. Amanda's got a really good sheet pan nacho recipe in her book with black beans and cheese, and you cannot go wrong with that. And then of course popcorn too. Popcorn is one of my all-time favorite snacks in general. I am actually obsessed with popcorn. I could eat it. I am always team salty over sweet. So it's my personal go-to snack. But for game day, so many good ones. Okay. Tidying up just a tad here. I'm going to rinse this cutting board because it now has, probably won't even need it, but just in case we do, it has got onion and chili flavors on it, and I do not want to mix anything else with that. Okay. Alrighty. Got a little spilled pepper over here. I'm just going to tidy up real quick. If anybody has any other appetizers that they love to do, definitely drop those in the chat though. Always looking for more ideas. Onion dip is always a great one too. Amanda has a fun one on her website for French onion dip that's like got grilled onions in it. I know a lot of times we have onion dip that's like, which is also delicious. Got like the onion soup powder in it, which is delicious, but she does hers like from scratch, so yummy. And she has a version too where she makes it on the Traeger. So if you're looking for a good grilling appetizer, that would be a really fun one. Okay, get this cutting board kind of clean real quick. Okay. Cutting board is clean. We're all tidied up. And now let's switch and check on the wings real quick. I just want to show you guys kind of the progress of how they're going. I think they are still going to need a little bit longer though. And then we'll make the popcorn before the wings are done cooking. Oh my goodness, these smell amazing. So I'm going to show you guys real quick. Let me grab some hot pads and pull them out to show you. Pop them down right here. Okay, so this is, we put them in at 5:07. It's now 5:32. So here is our kind of midway progress. They are super crispy, completely crispy on the sides, and that's all from that cornstarch. We flip them over. Let me grab I'm going to burn my hands otherwise. Grab some clean tongs. You can flip them over. They're not quite as crispy on the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and actually just flip them now. Make sure they get crispy all the way around. This baking rack is really great for that. For helping to keep it from getting soggy on the bottom or anything like that. It's going to keep them from just cooking in their juices, and which is delicious sometimes with chicken, but with wings, you want them to get nice and crispy. So the juices will kind of drip to the bottom. The chicken will get nice and crispy. I'm just going to flip these. Beautiful. Okay. And these are kind of soft on this side. So these now need to crisp up. I'm going to pop them back into the oven. Okay. So those will have a bit more to go, but in the meantime, let's make some popcorn. Just keep these over here for later. And I think I'm going to move my camera actually over to the stovetop so that way you all can see what's going on over there. Get a dish towel real quick. We will set up shop over here. I have my computer stacked on Ina Garden books, of course. Okay, move that over here. Over here even. Let's see. Our new angle. We're not getting dizzy. Okay. We got our new setup going here. Okay, so we're gonna make some homemade popcorn. Popcorn is such a simple snack to make, but I feel like it's so common to think that, and just to opt for the microwave store-bought popcorn, but those tends to be filled with a lot of different additives and, we don't really know what's in that butter that they put in it. So I love making it from home, making it from scratch. You can just really control the ingredients in it. It tastes so much better. And popcorn's actually a really good, healthy snack too. Obviously, if you're coating it in butter, depends on the amount of butter you put in, but just regular popcorn and a little bit of salt is a really great, healthy snack too. So we're going to make some homemade popcorn today. We're going to do a little bit of avocado oil. Again, same deal, same reasoning as we did with the marinade of using avocado oil as opposed to olive oil. The olive oil would get too hot and would get the kernels to burn. So a nice, mild, neutral oil, like avocado oil, is great. You could also do coconut oil. It will taste a little bit coconutty, so you have to be good with that, which is delicious. Nothing wrong with that in my opinion, but it is just a choice on which one you want to use. So I'm gonna, got my pan here. I'm gonna add a little bit of olive oil, or I'm sorry, avocado oil. And I just want to coat the bottom. So about 1 to 2 tablespoons I'm using there, I would say, closer to 2. And I'm going to turn on the heat here. We're going about medium-high heat. And I'm going to add a couple kernels of popcorn. We're going to start with just 3 or 4 kernels and put the lid on. This is going to get nice and hot, and we'll note that the oil is hot enough and ready for the rest of the kernels when one of these kernels pops. So we've got just a couple in here waiting, and then we'll see once they start popping, we'll know that we can add the rest of the popcorn in. So today we're going to do our popcorn with some everything bagel seasoning, some Parmesan, some salt, a little bit of butter if you want, and just such a yummy, yummy snack. You can do the popcorn with tons of different flavor variations. Of course, you can also just do salt if you just want to do salt. That's great too, or salt and butter, and keep it classic. But you could also do other variations too. Like if you like truffle, you could do a little bit of truffle oil or truffle salt. If you want to do like a garlic herb one, the way that I would do that is great. A clove or 2 of garlic, and it'll just kind of melt in there with the popcorn. Toss it in with the popcorn. With the garlic herb, I would do fresh herbs, probably would be really yummy. You could chop up some parsley. You could chop up thyme if you wanted, even would be really good, or rosemary. A garlic rosemary one would be really yummy. If you want to do like a spicy one too, you could do chili powder and do a spicy version of popcorn. So play around with it. See what variations you like best. Yeah, it's just such a good snack. Oh, curry. I was thinking about ideas before this too. Curry would be a good one too. You can do curry powder. Thinking like some currants or raisins mixed in with it too would be kind of a fun, savory, sweet version too. And then I always did when I was a kid, we'd put chocolate chips into our popcorn. And if you haven't done that, it's a good way to live. and the chocolate gets all melty and your hands get covered in chocolate. But as a kid, it was like the best thing ever on a movie night. So that is also a really fun sweet treat one. Okay, I think it's getting hotter. I can see the kernels. They want to pop. They're getting kind of bubbly around them, but they're not there quite yet. And I am going to pour my kernels to a little bit smaller of a bowl. One time when I tried pouring straight from the bag into here, one of them popped up at me and I jumped back and the entire bag went everywhere. So it was quite the mess. I'm going to start with it just in here. I doubt my microphone is picking up on it, but the chicken is sizzling so loudly in the background. I hope you guys can hear it. If you can't, I wish that you could. Oh, there we go. There's our first one. Okay, there goes 2, 3. All right, we are good. I'm going to take the lid off, pour in more kernels. Woo! Okay, kernels are in. I'm just going to shake this around just a little bit, kind of coat them in the oil. Now this, let me see if you can see through here. The kernels are in one even layer on the bottom. I like playing this game when I make popcorn to try to see how few of kernels I can have at the end that have not popped. And I find that the best method is to have it be exactly one layer of the size of the pan. So if it's overfilling and you have kernels stacked on top of each other, that's when you tend to get popcorn kernels that do not pop. This is white corn that I'm using. You can use white or yellow, whatever your preference is. I don't tend to taste a huge difference. Some people have strong opinions though, but whichever one is available to you. And it's starting to pop, and it's going to keep popping faster. We're going to let it go until we don't really hear any popping anymore, or it's like once every 5 seconds or so. Then we know to quickly take it off the heat. And once it's done, I've got my bowl ready and prepared. I don't want this pot is going to still be hot. So once it's done, we want to get it out of the pot. Otherwise, if we leave it in there, we run the risk of the bottom pieces starting to burn. It's starting to really fill up. We're getting lots of popcorn. Still going. The lid is starting to come off. Kind of making a large batch here. Why not? All right, I'd say that's done popping. I'm taking it off the heat. And I'm going to dump it into this bowl here. Let's see if I can do it without it going everywhere. Woo, there we go. Alrighty. A few pieces stuck here. Now let's chat toppings. I'm going to toss this with a little bit of butter. But a quick trick for doing this, rather than melting the butter separately, it can just go straight into this hot pot. Now the recipe calls for 4 tablespoons of butter. Now I was chatting with Amanda about this earlier, and she's been saying she's just been doing like 1 tablespoon, 1 to 2. I'm going to do maybe like 2 tablespoons. So you really don't need all that butter. Of course you can, but it's up to you on that, how buttery you want it, how much you want to include. And I don't even have any heat on. This is just already melted from just the residual heat from the pan. I'm going to pour that over. Just a little bit of butter. That's not a ton for the amount of corn that we're having here. And then we're going to do some everything bagel seasoning. The butter is going to help make that seasoning stick. This is the really fun part. So everything bagel seasoning you can buy at the store, already pre-made. I get mine from Trader Joe's, but I've seen it at Safeway too. I think Costco might sell some too. Just toss it in there. I'm gonna do a pinch of salt too. Everything bagel seasoning typically does have salt in it as well. I know this version does. There might be some versions that don't, so check and read the back of yours. But if your store doesn't carry it, you can totally make your own version as well. It's got sesame seeds, black sesame seeds, white sesame seeds, poppy seeds, granulated garlic, I think some granulated onion, some salt, and I'm going to do some Parmesan too. So that Parmesan is also salty. So I didn't add a ton of salt itself. I'm going to toss that. Let's grab a spoon here. Toss this a little bit. I know me. I know I'm going to want more Parmesan. Let's do some more. Give it a toss. That Parmesan has already kind of melted in there. You can see here, let me show you all. The everything bagel seasoning stuck to it so nicely because it had that little bit of butter, also just the heat. If you were trying to put it on cold popcorn, it probably wouldn't stick very well, but this is sticking really well. So good. So good. That's perfect. I'm gonna add a little more everything bagel. It's such a fun snack. And popcorn would be so fun on game day too. You can of course make it fresh. Obviously hot popcorn's great, but it's also so good even if it sits out for an hour, which is nice about game day. So you can make it, let it sit for a little bit as people are watching the game, and it's still gonna be just as delicious as it comes to room temperature. So, oh my gosh. So good. This is gonna be the problem is I wanna just eat this whole thing right now, but I don't wanna make you watch me eat for the next 20 minutes, but I will restrain myself. Okay. That is our popcorn. Anyone have any questions in the comments or anything? We're gonna check back on our wings. I can hear them. I think I'm gonna relocate you all back to my previous side. See if I can carry the books with it. Okay. We are back. All right, let's check on the wings then. Once those are done, we're just gonna toss them with the sauce. So I'm gonna move this out of the way. Let's grab our hot pads again. And check on these wings. Woo! All right, this is what I'm talking about. These look amazing. So these have been in for 40 minutes. It's 5:47. We put them in at 5:07 if you remember. So that is perfect. I think these look amazing. They are crispy golden brown. Let me show you them. Ooh, feel the steam. They're hot wings for sure. So here we have them. These are crispy. I can literally like break the skin. It's that like tight, crispy skin. That's coming from this cornstarch and from coming from cooking it at high heat. I'm gonna actually go ahead and turn the oven off now. So it's that really high heat for that long enough amount of time. These are, I can feel them. They're fully cooked. They're not, the chicken itself isn't like bouncing too much. At 40 minutes, you don't have to, like they should all be cooked by now for sure. And they're so crispy. Okay, so let's toss them with the sauce. I'm gonna grab a big bowl to put these in. Got a big mixing bowl here. And let's transfer them. They're crispy on both sides too. They got beautiful golden brown. Now, this marinade is totally the way to go. This Chipotle lime is so delicious. But of course, if you have other marinades that you love, a favorite barbecue sauce that you love, you could absolutely do that. This really is all about, seeing the method here. And they're not sticking, which is great too. This is a non-stick baking rack, wired baking rack. Okay, let's move this out of the way. And bring over our sauce. So here's our sauce, here's our wings. We actually don't even really need to heat up the sauce. The wings are so hot themselves. The marinade is room temperature, so it should be totally fine. If you wanted to, of course you could. They'll be super, super hot then to pick up. Just fair warning if you do that. Although I would say, though, if you had this in the fridge before, take it out, let it come to room temperature before you put it on. You don't want to put like super cold sauce on hot wings. That might be kind of weird. So we're just going to do half of the sauce. Let's see. Whoop, there we go. Okay. I got my tongs. We're going to toss them. So these are crispy while still being saucy, something that I think is a great goal to have in a wing. If you baked them straight in the sauce, they might not get as crispy as when you bake them just with the salt and the cornstarch. Okay, these smell incredible. Absolutely amazing. Show you all, see if you can see. The steam might be fogging up the camera. But you can see, we didn't heat up that sauce, and it's totally fine. Like, these are piping hot. You can see all of the steam. They smell so, so good. You can smell the lime. You can smell the chipotle. Those chipotle and adobos, they're got like a smoky flavor to them that's really nice and different. And those fresh herbs too, I think is such a nice way to freshen up the wings as well. So that is our recipe. Now you can serve them as is. They'd be really yummy. I'd serve them with a side of celery sticks, carrot sticks if you want to, and some ranch dip too would be really yummy. Amanda, in her new book, has a ranch dip. It's actually on her website now too, I believe. If you go to her website, amandahaascooks.com, and click on her buffalo cauliflower recipe, included in it is the ranch dip. And it's ranch because it's a Greek style ranch. It's essentially got Greek yogurt. I think it's got some lemon juice, a bunch of fresh herbs, some garlic, and kind of a little bit of a healthier take on the store-bought ranch that you get, but is so flavorful and yummy, and that would be really good with this, or just have them as is. So those are our two game day snacks. Does anybody have any questions before we wrap up? I would love, now's kind of your chance. Would love to hear from any of you if so. But I hope you guys all have a great Super Bowl Sunday if you're watching. If you're focused on the food, if you're focused on Taylor Swift, whatever it is you're excited about for Sunday, or if you're not into it, any of these would just make great snacks and appetizers to serve at really any party, or that popcorn, even just any great day. Any day you could have it and it would be great. So I think that's it. Thank you, Chris. All right. Thank you, everybody. Well, with that said, we'll go ahead and wrap up then, and hope you guys have a great rest of your week and a great weekend. And we will talk to you later. All right. Thanks, everyone.